Yo, JD here, and as you can see, we are back on F1 2021, and we returned for the finale, part 3 of this series that I got invited to, in which the winner would get the cash equivalent of purchasing an F1 22 Championship Edition game. So basically, it's a free game. So yeah, I took part in this. I've done the first 6 races, and you can see what our standings were coming into this. So I think we have 3 races now to go. This is a 5-lapper at Monza with a one-shot quali. But then the 2 races after this are actually 25% with a one-shot quali. So Monza is quite a good track for me. Had quite a good amount of success, and a track where they actually changed the curbs, where now you don't have to perform a ski jump. So like coming through this one, you actually kiss the curbs now rather than completely mount them, which is something I definitely prefer. And I think because of that, I've been able to turn this track into one of my weaker ones into one of my strongest ones. So I was looking forward to this. And then I think the 2 races after this are Silverstone and Jeddah, which are obviously good tracks for me as well. You can see going for Ascari there, took a bit of a double stab at that, so a slight hesitation, just want to make sure I get through the lap rather than invalidate. And I think so far in this series, we haven't had a pole position at all. I think CPI Robbie has had, I think, like 5 out of 6 poles or something like that at the moment. So we finished this up here, which I was fairly satisfied with. And you can see we're less than a 10th away from pole, which was pretty frustrating. But it seems to be the same top 3 over and over again as it is in the championship as well. So was looking to get a good start here, as we have 5 lights here now. And as they go out, we get initially get quite a good launch, but then just a bit too greedy on the power, which causes a lot of wheel spin, and we get overtaken by a couple of people. So now we put ourselves in a little bit of a vulnerable position, have to back out of that, otherwise I was going to hit that Mercedes there. So knowing when not to stick your nose in, because although we've done quite well, been quite consistent, the championship is still actually quite tight at this stage. So if I had a DNF here, then that would be a 20-25 point swing, which is something we definitely cannot afford at this stage, as Razorback makes a mistake, takes the Ferrari with him, so managed to regain 2 positions, and now we are into P4. So all we can do from here is do a little bit of damage limitation now, because with the DRS it's quite hard to continuously make up positions. So I'm just going to make sure I'm in the DRS zone of this guy up ahead as we go for Ascari, taking out fairly okay, but we're definitely within the comfort zone of the DRS. So you can see we just turn a little bit more relaxed. But as we come towards the end of that too, so going through Ascari again, you can see we've made up quite a bit of time here. Gap to leaders is over 2 seconds away, so a lot of people will just do everything they can to try and win the race. I know it's going to be pretty difficult to win the race from here now, so in my mind I was just thinking about going for the faster lap. DRS is enabled next lap, but we don't actually get the DRS going down the straight, so you can see we're not using any of it at all. Fastest lap is a 21.0,
DRS is now available.
So we're just going to sit behind this Red Bull, try not to lose that much time to leaders, just in case something does happen in the last couple of laps. But I'm just going to try and stay close to him without actually pressuring him too much. So you can see we've actually barely used any of our ERS. So I'm going to go for the fastest lap next lap by doing an overtake on him. And then maybe that might even be enough to actually catch the leaders somewhat, because they will probably be saving the ERS for the last lap. So back to my previous video where I was talking about consistency. Sometimes the smartest thing to do is to anticipate what other people are going to do, and then you can plan your attack run there. But you can see here now, I'm actually disabling and enabling the DRS because I don't want to get too close. So although we don't need to save an ERS, I just don't want to get too close where he's going to get defensive for no reason really. That's the reason why I actually do that. It's not really to save the battery that much at all, but just want to get nice and close going to parabolic. And now gap is still about 2 seconds to the leaders up ahead, so we're using it here now, and we are just going to give it absolutely everything we can on this lap to get the fastest lap and see if we could even do something about the leaders, because as I said, on lap 4 these guys are probably not spamming their ERS up ahead because they want to be saving it for the last lap to whoever needs to attack and the other guy who needs to defend whoever's in front. So I knew that they wouldn't be using the ERS on this lap at all. So this might be an opportunity to actually get back within the DRS zone, as crazy as you might think that is. But you can already see we've gained quite a bit of time by pushing, and I'm just going to give it everything here because I want to try and get within their DRS, going for the fastest lap, but also making sure I am out of the DRS zone from the car behind as well. So going through into here now, we take a little bit of a shortcut there because I haven't got any warning, so I don't really care if I get a track invalidation there as long as I don't get another 2. Should be fine. But you can see these guys are actually playing around, so doing a Verstappen Hamilton coming into here, and that has enabled me to get back within the DRS zone. But you can see we have used all of our deployment on this lap, and going across science at 20.1. So
good job. That was the fastest
that
lap of the
probably
race so
won't
far.
be beaten on this last lap. But yeah, we did get back within the DRS zone. But coming through Ascari, there's really nothing we can do because we're the third man in the DRS train once again. And yeah, there's not much you can do when you're in that third man. And I'm going to save my ERS just for this little last straight and coming off here just in case something happens. But yeah, I think it's going to be quite difficult to overtake these guys. And Robbie, although he let the other guy pass, hasn't been able to actually repass him. So a bit of a mistake on his end. Do another 20.1 actually, almost beating our fastest lap. And that was a fairly good damage limitation. So we actually have lost a few points in the championship because of that. And you can see the gap now is only 12 points, which is actually really, really close. Much closer than I thought it was. So come on to Silverstone now. And you can see we're actually on medium tyres because this is a 25% race. And the alternate strategy in a 25% race is usually always superior. There are some tracks where it's not super superior or anything at all, but every track, if you could start on mediums at the front, if you could start on pole, then you're probably going to have a faster overall race if you have no traffic, that is. So we're going to try and start on mediums here and see how far up the grid we can actually get. And the difference between mediums and softs around here is, I'd say probably maybe half a second, something like that, or more maybe. Apparently it says 0.8 according to the in-game, but I think sometimes that's not always the most accurate as well. As we go through Maggots and Beckett's, love this sequence of corners, and this is actually quite a nice lap so far. As I said before, I think one-shot qualifying is probably, I'd say, 2 to 3 tenths slower than what a short qualifying is, and then I'd always say a Q3 in full qualifying is actually the fastest track conditions you can do. As we come through into the final chicane now, it's been quite a tidy lap itself, so a pretty good lap overall, and going across the line, it's a 26.8, which I was actually fairly happy with. And of course, we do not get pole position because Robbie has actually gone on the soft tyres, and I think he didn't realise he could actually go on mediums in a one-shot qualifying. So we've got 5 lights here, arguably on the best strategy, and get a pretty good start. So a pretty good launch, and all we have to do here is really just stay within this DRS zone. If we can do that, then pretty much have almost won this race, unless one of our rivals on the mediums can stick with us as well as we do have a guy behind us who is on the mediums himself. So Robbie really needs to break my DRS if he wants a chance to win this race. Then he's really got to break out of my DRS. If he doesn't do that, then the softs at the end are pretty powerful, because the softs and mediums at the start of the race, so it's not really that much difference. But then since the soft runners are pitting earlier than the mediums, I'm going to have much fresher softs in comparison to what he has now. So that's why it's a lot more OP. But as we go through the old turn one, he makes a massive mistake, and yeah, that is his race over, and has really helped me in the championship. So I think he is probably now out of the championship contention. It's this other guy who I can just never pronounce his name, but Reyes Aiden, I can't even read it because my screen is so small at the moment, but I think he is the only contender in this championship now. So at the end of this lap, the goal was to try and get out of the DRS zone, and it looks like we have done exactly that, and going across the line 31.1, over 1 second away. So basically in this race, not much happened from this point. We
on the softs.
Just drove really well. Silverstone is one of my best tracks I absolutely love to drive, and yeah, from lap 5 or 6 onwards, this is where the mediums should really start to be on par with the softs itself. And
we're boxing this lap. Give us the best in lap you can.
And yeah, we were just being very consistent, just eking out that gap. I think my Reyes has actually pitted quite early to try and go for an undercut, so that's why you don't see him in the top 5, because I don't think he has anything to lose here, because no, if he just stayed out and there's over 2 seconds between us, all I have to do is just come in the next lap. That's all I have to do in order to counter him, because the undercut won't be that big. And yeah, we're just going to go as deep as we can into this race, just so we can again secure the fastest lap, just for that extra point if we can. And yeah, lap after lap we were just driving pretty good, pretty cleanly, and just doing everything we really needed to do. So we ended up pitting at the start of lap 10, or the end of lap 9.
Release.
That's when we pitted, and you can see the gap is about 30 seconds. The pit delta is around 28.5 seconds, something like that. So yeah, I'd say about 28.5 seconds, because we used to time it in esports.
Look after these tyres now.
And coming up here now, Raceback's the fastest lap, 27, and we are going to come out comfortably ahead. And he also has a timed penalty as well, so we're going to be comfortably ahead on the freshest tyres. And now next lap we're going to try and respond to see how fast we can actually go. So going towards the end of this lap, just going to stay on board for this entire lap now. This is my fastest I did in the race itself, and typically when I do 5-lap lobbies, I always like to try and get in the 26s. I think if you can get in the 26s consistently, then you're driving at a fairly good pace around this track. So far the lap's looking pretty okay, nothing crazy or anything at all. Could have been a bit tighter on that left-hander going onto the straight, but we're just going to use all of our ERS. Unless we disconnect, we should be able to win this race quite comfortably, but we're just going to try and get that extra fastest lap points. And yeah, so far the lap is looking fairly good at this stage. So now going through cops, we don't take it flat out, I don't think. We're thinking just a tiny lift as we go through into there. Now going through Mega Spec, it's flat out for this first part, middle of the track. That's when you want to go over to the left, nice and early into right, so slow in, fast out, using all the tracks. So that's actually 2 warnings, so if you get another one, that will be a 3-second time penalty. Middle split was pretty good, coming out towards the end of the hangar straight, nice and tight. So really trying to think of an elastic band, unwinding through here. Now going into the chicane, slow in, fast out, nice and early into this right-hander, trying to avoid the curb on the exit, and going across the line using all of that ERS. It's a 26.8,
that was the fastest lap of the race,
which is a pretty good lap to do at this stage of the race. But coming into the chicane for the final time, we actually did go for another attempt, but the tyres are a little bit more worn, And going across the line, we do a 26.9 and ending up taking the W fairly comfortably in the end. So in terms of the championship, we'll see what that looks like if I'm any closer to winning basically a free F1 22 game. And the gap is 24 points. So we haven't done it yet. We still have to do this race. So basically, we just need to score 2 points. So we need to come 9th. And it doesn't matter what happens everywhere else. So Jeddah, really, really good track for me. And I think because we did so many races, I think we did 9 races in total. That's quite a long time to do. So I think the grid was coming down race after race, but the championship has gone to the finale like a Hamilton Verstappen. But we're going to go in the mediums once again because the medium strategy is actually quite powerful around here. If you didn't watch my video called Hunting Down F1 Esports Drivers in ORL, I did a race around here. I almost won this race using the alternate strategy, and it is really, really good. So yeah, definitely going to try and make this work as much as we can. And now coming through into the final part of the lap, it's pretty much almost a flat out circuit here. This is probably my favourite corner on the track. Go into here at absolutely ridiculous speeds. Can't imagine what that is like in a real F1 car. But now coming into the final corner, let's see if I bottle it like a Max Verstappen did on his pole lap, because that would have been an incredible lap. And we do kind of bottle it. Actually went very, very wide. Almost, I think we did kiss the wall there. So we actually did bottle it going through there. But going across the line, it's going to be a 28.1, which again, for mediums, is not too bad at all. But now we're on the grid for the final time. So we've got 4 lights, 5 lights. Was the fastest medium runner, as you can see, up into P3. My rival, I think, is almost directly behind me as well. So all we've got to do here is just keep it nice and clean. That is all we have to do if we want to try and win this championship. So far so good. Going quite nicely into this turn 1 and through this first sector of the lap. And we're just going to try and stay with these guys on these medium tyres. Medium tyres are a bit slower than the first stint, but then it's kind of like a Monza. Quite slow at the first part as a safety car, a virtual safety car has now come out now. But yeah, the softs are going to be very, very fast at the end. But it turned into a full safety car, and we're actually going to box. Because if we stayed out here, there wouldn't be enough of an advantage on the softs, or fresh softs, to claw back at a pit stop. So kind of have to actually pit now.
Go, go, go.
We pretty much have no choice. So we have to do softs, which can comfortably do the whole race. But that has put us in a little bit more of a difficult position. The people on the mediums, I would say, probably have the better strategy at the moment for the rest of the race itself. But we have come out into P2. We actually managed to jump someone in the pits because they got held by someone else. So now we're behind Razorback, who we had a bit of a nice battle at France in the previous video itself, and we're just going to try and warm up our tyres here. And yeah, no real threat from behind, so we can just take it nice and casually. Don't need to win this race. All we need to do is become 8th out of 12 people. So yeah, if we didn't pit, then that could have turned into a much, much more difficult race instead. So good job we actually did pit. And we're just going to stay behind this guy nice and calmly. And my championship rival is in P4 at the moment. So I think he actually does need to win this race as well. Yeah, he does need to win this race as well if he wants a chance of winning the championship itself. So coming through into here, slow in, fast out, coming onto straight, and our setup is pretty fast in a straight line as well. So we're not going to do anything right here because DRS, when you have a full safety car, it does take another 3 laps for it to reactivate. But if you have a virtual safety car, it will actually just continue on as normal. So I was thinking about maybe trying to get past him as quick as we could, because my championship rival is actually now directly behind me as well. But as we come through into here, he actually hits my rear wheel, and yeah, unfortunately, that is his race over. But yeah, you can see there was quite a bit of space on the inside, so I think he unfortunately maybe just locked up or something like that. But yeah, he is now out of the race itself, and now it's the two championship leaders in P1 with myself and in P2. But it looks like he's made a bit of a mistake, so I'm actually going to try and pull out of the DRS on this lap if I'm able to. So I think we'll just go stay on board here and see how much pace we do have. But it looks like he is actually quite fast around this track as well, so we're having to use quite a bit of the ERS here as we're now coming into this corner, which is again one of my favourite corners on the game itself. You can just take so much speed just going through into there. This one you have to be a lot more disciplined, but it's more about the momentum onto the straight rather than the speed in the corner before. And you can see the gap is almost just over 1 second, so still having to push quite a lot of the ERS at this stage of the race, using all of the track, but it allows you to get away with quite a lot around there, and looks like we're going to be comfortably out of the DRS zone. And I presume that he was using quite a lot of the ERS as well, so I know we're probably both in a very similar boat when it comes to how much ERS we have on board. So I'll only use the ERS now if I have to, as we do it at 28
incident on track, but
0.9.
officials aren't looking to push for a safety
But yeah,
car
if he
right
gets
now,
with my
just be
DRS,
careful.
then I'll simply just use the ERS again. But as we skip on to the next lap, the safety car has actually now come out again, because someone else has left, or someone else has crashed in this race. So
Are you all right there?
we're actually
Don't
got a
worry about the
box
mistake, just
for a
focus on the
set
rest of the
of
race.
fresh softs itself. And yeah, my rival actually decides to stay out, and you can see a lot of people behind me have box as well. So yeah, this is going to work in our favour quite nicely. We're going to have about 5 lap fresher tyres or more than what our rival has. Someone else has just come past us here, so it's really crucial that we maybe try and get out ahead of him, which we have, and we've actually come out in P3 with much fresher tyres. So as the safety car is coming in at the end again, let's see what we can do here. So trying to get a good start, and yeah, absolutely no pressure from behind whatsoever. So
Okay, clear.
right now, I obviously wanted to win the race, but all we have to do is just be clean and don't DNF. But I think even if we DNF, we would still be in 9th place, which I think we would actually win the championship still as well. So we're just going to sit behind these two as they go side by side with each other, and we don't want to come off worse on this scenario. But I think it's pretty much almost impossible for us to actually lose this championship now, as we're going to use the ERS on the exit here, getting the slipstream of the Alpha, and now we're going to turn to left and get in the slipstream of the Haas itself. And we're thinking about almost going through the middle here, but with the fresher tyres, going around the outside, he actually gets a better exit. But with the grip, we can see with the fresh tyres, we get such good traction coming in, going through the middle once again, which is actually quite risky. But now we actually slot ourselves up into P2. But now as we skip to lap 11, I think the DRS will be enabled on the next lap, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So we literally just sit behind here, no real rush to actually overtake at this stage of the race itself. And let's come through into here, let's see if the DRS is available. No, or yes, I think it actually is. So we're going to use the DRS here, and was hoping that this guy behind us would actually follow us through.
Good job.
As well, which then pushes my rival back into 3rd place. So we're going to give it everything on the exit of this corner and do our best to try and
Green flag.
stay
We're
ahead
racing
as
again.
much as we can. So we're going to be quite defensive here. Let's see if we can now break him going into here, which we do. So we still manage to claim 1st place. And you can see there's a little bit of a gap out between us, behind us now, so we're just going to try and see if we can break out of this DRS zone to hopefully have a bit of a stress-free last lap itself. And yeah, I think we just driven really, really well this race. Just really clean, just done everything we needed to do. Apart from Monza at the start, where we were a bit greedy. Yeah, we haven't really put much of a foot wrong so far in this part 3 of this series. And you can see the gap is now 1 second. So all we have to do is get a good exit off here. And then they won't be in the DRS zone. But it looks like my rival has actually made a mistake or had a bit of an incident, because now he is about 4 seconds back, and yeah, he needs to win this race anyway if he wants to win this competition. And we've actually managed to put ourselves out of the DRS zone. So as we come into the final corner of the final lap, 9 races later, I'm not sure how many wins we did get in the end, but we were very consistent. I think we got a top 3 almost every single race we did. And we have managed to win this competition and championship. And I can confirm the organizer did give me the prize. So it definitely did happen as well. So thank you so much. I really hope you enjoyed watching that. Pretty much from here on, the next pieces of content will be F1 22. I do have a special video on Sunday, which will be my last video on F1 21. But yeah, from next week onwards, it's going to be F1 22, and I will be playing on all platforms. Just so that you know, I will be opening my coaching again in mid-July. So yeah, next week I will be updating those time slots on the website itself. Again, make sure you enter the Bybit competition, because I have actually extended it even more to this week. I think it's till this Sunday is when the competition ends, where you get the chance of winning a paddock pass to Silverstone this year. Your trip is all paid for as well, so your flights, travel, accommodation, hotel, everything, that is all covered within it as well. Also get the opportunity of winning a secret gaming lab chair, and all you have to do is deposit $10 when you sign up to a link in the description. So I wish everyone the best of luck with that. Thank you so much for support on the videos and channel this year, and I will be catching you very, very soon. Peace.